And they're back.
Red means go.
The boys are back. Hey, it's no sweat.
It's no sweat. Get away from your nerves. Get away from your nerves. Today we have big Nate Stemper with us on episode 38. Also on video, maybe show this, maybe we won't. We have a lot of radio faces in the stands today, so we're going to try not to show the live audience. So we got a live audience with us today. Some of the best folks in the world. They live up in Minnesota. That's why I still can't find a way to leave this state. But we got some good people behind us that are sitting down and going to listen. But to introduce the guest today, Nate Stemper, Dave and I emotionally go back with this guy. He's still currently training Dave as he's playing hockey, trained myself, one of my dearest friends, one of my coworkers now. The guy is unbelievable. He from Steve's words, built a gym from the ground up, the mezzanine up, basically, I think, in this world, which we can explain that one.
What's that?
This guy lived up in the rafters. This guy trained in an attic to start, and now he's got an unbelievable
Is that what you
facility.
call it, a mezzanine?
I believe that's what you call it, and
Cool.
we can Google that. We can Google that.
It was an absolute sweatshop. I mean, it was like third world.
It was
Third world bad.
Sounds hot.
It was third world. But so we have Nate with us today, who is a Minnesotan from Minnesota.
Born and raised.
Goes to Wisconsin Eau Claire.
Actually, I was born in Germany,
But
but I flew over here at like 1 year old.
Dude,
Oh yeah.
how was the flight?
Oh yeah.
where? Do you remember the city's name?
It was in Frankfurt. My mom and dad were in the military.
Frankfurt.
Yeah, Frankfurt.
For all of our Germans out there, that's
Yeah.
the German pronunciation. Frankfurt.
Or?
Oder?
Is that what they say there?
Or?
So you start in Germany.
I lived there for a year. It was fantastic. A lot of beautiful
Great
women. I was
memories.
checking out all the other babies. It was awesome.
So you fly over to Minnesota. Then you're in Minnesota, and we can touch on that. You go to Wisconsin, UW Eau Claire.
Yep.
You play football there.
Yep.
You get done in 2009.
Yep.
And since 2009, you jumped into the strength and conditioning fitness world.
Yep. I started with internship in 2007, and I just knew right from there I was gonna either succeed or be holding a sign on the side of the road saying we'll train for food. I just knew it was gonna go like that was the only thing I wanted to do.
Well, when did you find that out? Did that start in high school, or was that a college thing? How did that passion begin to burn in you?
My dad bought me a weight set when I was like 14, and he
Okay.
said you have to work out on it every day or else I'm returning it. And I just kind of said okay, well, so he'd come downstairs and I'd act like I knew what I was doing. I'd just be putting plates on there, and then when he left, kind of like looking at it, going, what the hell is this thing? And then playing sports in high school, in my age it was just bench press and go in the weight room and get after it with the boys to some hard metal. And it was fun.
Which is a good time.
Oh, it's
Get under
great.
that bar.
It's great. You're
Terrible form.
Yeah, terrible
Let's
form.
Let's hurt each other
Break
and
the
rock
back.
out.
Break the
Yeah.
back. Bend the knees.
Yeah.
You can get away with it though. It's
Yeah.
awesome. It's fun. So
You're young.
Not at
You're
MASH
youthful.
now. Those 13-year-olds ain't doing that at MASH now.
no, I'm hard on them now.
Yeah.
They look at me like I'm a psycho.
It's
but
precision now.
yeah.
So, sorry, keep going.
Yeah. So then I got to Eau Claire, and I initially thought criminal justice, and so then I talked to one of my friends, dad's friend. He was a detective, and he's like, don't do this job, it sucks. And so he was like, you're gonna, because I told him I wanted to get like one of the TV like detectives. They're like, I want to solve murders and stop everybody who's bad. And he's like, no, it's not.
A plainclothes detective.
Yeah. And he's like, that's not how it works. And he kind of showed me how that you progress to that. And I was like, all right, that's not going to happen. So
So many of those visions seem a lot more romantic in their head, in our
Yeah,
heads, don't
yeah,
they?
yeah.
And it ain't that way.
it's not at all. So I was naive. And then I said, okay, what should I do? Took a couple of kinesiology courses, and I was like, all right, this is cool. I like lifting. And then about 3 years into college, I was like, okay, this is it. I want to do this. Did an internship at Acceleration, Minnesota.
Where I met you.
Skating treadmills. Yep.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. I mean, even then, it was like a gym that I don't really think I'd agree with right now in terms of what I was doing. And it's a wonderful product, but it's good to be different. So it wasn't me. So I loved the whole experience. It kind of taught me a lot of things that I learned along the way. But that kind of propelled me into knowing that was the thing I want to do with my life.
And that's where you met Tommy, right?
Tommy Buski.
Is that where you met him, at Acceleration?
He was another trainer, a lost soul, just looking at me going, what am I doing with this degree I got? And he went to Australia for baseball.
Played some ball over there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah.
And when he came back, it was all different. We were running stuff differently, and he was like, okay, I can do this. And he was actually a really good trainer. Now he's just, he's Mr. Business.
Well, that's initially because I was just got out of college and I was doing a little Florida piece down there playing in the minors. And before I knew you, it was kind of Tom. Tom was my guy that was doing the training, and that's where I met you at Acceleration over there at Parkos' place. It was a lifetime ago.
Tom knew a lot of good athletes, so I was like, all right, this guy can, let's grow this thing together. You got all these professional athletes, and I want to play with some of them. So
give us the journey there, because I know that there was a couple bumps in the road there at Acceleration, and the kind of the next couple years provided some uncertainty and a little bit of like, all right, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So the owner that we were working for. And I think it's normal in the business to, have there's like this thing behind gyms where people they're just after money and they're just going to BS you. And there's just so many gyms in this country. So there's obviously going to be some good, some bad. I landed at one where, ethically the guy was not treating people the way that I agreed with. And I stayed with him just purely because I was a young kid and I was like, all right, this is money. Right. But Tom actually was with me at that point. He started training baseball players. And we had a meeting with our boss, and it was a lot of conflict. And I told Tom, I'm like, that's it, I'm quitting, man. And he's like, you know what, that's funny, because I'm actually quitting, but I'm going to start a baseball club and a gym.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds cool, man. I was just lying. I'm just going to stay on for like another month. So then Tommy left. The gym kept on rolling. And then after about another 2 months, like literally after that conversation, I quit and was kind of like looking for other jobs. And Tom's like, come check out my weight room. Went over there. Steve has a really good story. Our good friend Steve, he's one of the owners of MASH. He's been on here before, so go back and listen to that one if you want to hear some real beauty. He's looking over at me right now, so I'm sucking up a little bit. But
keep going.
He gives you a good story about, I was not thinking like I was coming for a job interview. So I had this.
What are you thinking? This is in the bag?
I was thinking.
Did Stevie grill you?
You talked about this with Tommy then.
To be honest, yeah.
Put him through the ringer, Gwigs?
I talked to Tom, and he's like, come check out my gym, not like come meet the other owner.
Right.
We're operational. Right. We have a weight room.
Right.
So I went over there and I was like, it's kind of like in the, the home you get up. I had some sweatpants on, t-shirt, there's probably some stains on there. I just got up, from
not the most professional outfit.
Not the most professional, but I was out job hunting the day before and I was like, all right, this is just going to be a fun little trip. I went over there. I met Steve, saw the weight room. And I was like, started talking to these guys, and Tom's like, well, we can't pay you. It's something that we're just trying to like get up in gear, up and get kids in there if we can. And I was like, well, my biggest thing is I have like 15 kids I care about, and I want to make sure they get through this next 5-6 months before competition. And Tom's like, well, bring them down here, and if you get some baseball guys that want to train, can you take care of them? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so
how old are you right now?
33. So
no, in the point of the story.
Oh, at this point in the story? Oh, God, geez. 27, 28. Somewhere right around there.
25, 20, 6 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
26, 27, 20, yeah.
Yep.
Well.
Now
I think that's relevant. I think that's relevant because if you're paying attention to the story on that, I got 15 guys that I care about, that I want to bring over here, and then you got a handful of baseball players. And so for people who don't know that, I mean, you're 27 years old. Put yourself in the perspective of a 27-year-old. You're taking a extreme gamble on yourself. You're shooting from the hip right there, and that is on
Tom and Steve.
Yeah, and visually, and Tom on Steve, and you've got Tom's got, he wants to bring Nate over here. He's got another owner involved, so now all of a sudden I got to get influenced I got to influence this guy. I've got to bring my own niche. They're baseball heavy, so they're focused on baseball, and now you got this guy who wants to create a gym. And what's unique about it, and we will on the social media, we have to put a picture of how this gym looked.
Yeah.
So now not only are we talking a handful of people at 27 is an age where most people in the society go, you got to have your stuff together.
Yeah.
You have had it together. Hopefully,
and so now you've got a guy who's going to jump into a world where he's going to take a gamble on himself. He's got a handful of people. And like I said, there was what? Did you have a rack? What can you explain what that weight room looked like?
Well, actually, it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
It was just that it was in a
So you're going into it knowing.
Yeah, I thought Tom had some
tough.
dumbbells, and he was just like, we're going to do some curls. And, I think the priority was the baseball club, and they definitely did way better on the gym than I was envisioning. It was just that it was on a mezzanine. So you have any noise reverberations going down to the next business. And then they're saying you hate mail.
I love that.
So they're like, you can't jump high and land on the floor. You can't drop weights. Make sure that there's nobody that kills themselves when they're running down the stairs if you're doing anything. So I was like, okay, let's try this out.
So Rage Against the Machine Mondays got a little bit.
Yep.
You got the neighbors knocking on the window.
Yeah.
We had to soundproof a wall at one point because we literally were just trying to turn the music up. And Steve, if you know him, he's got to vibe the music.
He's
in his
high
workshop.
energy.
So he's hollering up to me on the mezzanine and he's like, yo, DJ, spin something for me. And I'm running over there, turning some music on. And the people next door are like, you can't play between the hours of 3 and 6, like our most high traffic, high demand music hours.
Ugh.
So we built the soundproof wall. And but I mean, really, to go backwards, the second I met Steve and Tom together, it was like, okay, these guys are hustling the same way that I am.
Because that's not something to gloss over. You got 3 guys who are like, well, I can't pay you.
Yeah.
Do we all want to work?
Well, they weren't paying each other.
Right.
Either.
We want to work on our butts off together and just kind of, not hope this works, but a whole lot of belief in all 3 of you.
Yeah. So early conversations that you remember that you guys used to have, and then also early internal on your own conversation that you used to have of, because you obviously envision where it's at now and where it shows signs of going. But at the time, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that, and it's like, nope, there's no shot this is going to work.
Yeah.
So do you remember some of the conversations that maybe were tough that you had with the group or you had on your own? Or there had to have been some sleepless nights where Nate's going home going, what am I doing?
Yeah,
what am I doing?
To be honest, it was actually for me. I mean, I didn't even care about the space so much. I wanted just to work with good people because of the bad experience I had with the owners in the past, and just like there's this like culture in strength coaching where you meet other trainers and like, how do you do it? What do you do? And it was just like a bad kind of competitiveness, So I went over there, and it was just more just the vibe, I guess. You get in there and you meet these people, and you knew Steve was a worker the second you met him, and he has that ability to make it like really confrontational and like really good, positive. So it was like, I'm not screwing around here. I want to get into this. Tommy, I trusted him. I knew him. So I was like, this is what I've been looking for. I think when you recognize an opportunity, And
then you also recognize intent. That's something that we were kind of talking about yesterday with the No Sweat team. You wait enough or wait long enough, you can sniff out where they're coming from, where they're coming from, what's the motivation. And so if you can feel that with, Tom and Steve, it's like, okay, we can do this. And there's big parallels there because at the time, Tom and Steve had about 12 to 15 baseball players. And it was like, and I still remember Steve being like, you know what, I'm a coach. These kids might not be very good, but I'm going to coach the crap out of them. They're my guys. I'm going to make sure I do a good job with these guys. And then you bring in yours like, well, I got 15 athletes, but I care about them a ton. And so you kind of you got similar
it was
ideologies there, like, hey, man, right. So it's not like you don't have this huge vision of hundreds of athletes in this enormous gym. At first, it started with about a group of 30. And you guys decided this is the standard. We're going to take care of these kids. And then.
Yeah, it's like we were jumping on the Mayflower. I'm like, I don't know what the heck's over on the other side of the ocean, but we're getting there, and we're going to make some good living happen. So.
Well, this is kind of now Dave and I obviously fortunately know you really well, so this I know kind of to ask this question. So I'm trying to think in my head like,
hey, make us sound good here.
Yeah, did I come up with this just now of hearing this part of the story? But I also know this piece. So you have 2007. You kind of entertain the kinesiology that world. Like you go, okay, no, I'm not going to go the criminal route. This is where I'm going to go. You had weight training early on. You played in a sport that's heavy weight training. Then you get into the realm of the what is that, corporate America, essentially, of strength training?
Yeah, I mean, Acceleration's a small franchise, but I'd also had worked at like LA Fitness.
But so you know the run-of-the-mill hamster wheel deal and so on that stuff. So now all of a sudden you are a very unique trainer, and you're very individualized, you're very personalized, and you have worked, and I've witnessed you work really hard over the last freaking, 7 years of knowing you, of seeing you've pushed your mission in your intent, in your philosophy, and now on hundreds of thousands of people. But at the same time, what what triggered you to kind of know this is the route that I believe in? Like, this is the type of strength training.
Like, how did I develop my philosophy?
Yes. How did you get into that?
Okay. That's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of layers to this, and I don't want to
absolutely
throw too much crap.
Get in there, boy.
But don't gloss over it either, Nate. Come on now.
But so basically, I mean, nothing that we're really I believe in is really like necessarily revolutionary. There's a ton of great strength coaches, and they've all laid foundation of good training. I think the part for me when I was younger is like trying to like go online, because you have Google University, you have all these other resources available to learn stuff now. The degree gave me a background in understanding what's good and what's bad in terms of like sniffing out BSers and sniffing out people that are actually talking about stuff they know. So, I think it was just more of like, I have an idea in my head where I'm not just going to train people to do what I do. I want to like make it personalized. So the natural path to go is, how do you personalize? And so the assessment process is a major part of our gym, where you're getting to know the person. Is it the right fit for them? More than just taking money, you want to make sure that you're giving them more than they're going to receive, or than they're going to give you. So that first hour is free, and we just get to know them. We make sure they're the right fit for us, we're the right fit for them, and that we get a look at their body, basically. So you're doing like movement screenings, and there's tons of layers to these things, and there's a skill side to assessing. I think it's because it's the eye of the beholder. So you don't really think you're great at it when you first start, because you're like, what the heck am I doing?
Right.
What am I trying? There's a series called the FMS, Functional Movement Screening, that's really easy and accessible to learn through a physical therapist who created it as like a medium between strength coaches. And
is that like when you step over the do that stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was like, I like this, but I want to keep learning. So there's these things called special tests. Sounds real nerdy, right? So like special tests, and we're not actually, as strength coaches, qualified to like use these as a injury diagnosis, right? So like a lot of PTs and other people will say, hey, my shoulder hurts, and they'll diagnose an injury. So I just more have taken them and said, I'm going to use these as a screening tool in addition to the functional movement screening, to kind of like get an idea of what I can get a head start on before they're in my gym. So we're trying to look at like hip mobility, shoulder mobility, all your major joints, kind of looking at what's withholding them from freedom of movement, where's their strengths, where's their weaknesses, and there's too much to go through right now to really make it entertaining,
right,
and this nerdy talk on some of the stuff. But you learn enough, and you just try it, and then your success comes through your clients not only getting better results, but I think telling you that they feel better. And that's the biggest thing for me. Like if a kid says, hey, I got stronger, but I feel like crap, what have I really done? And a lot of the kids don't even know they're in pain, or adults. They live with it.
They become great at masking it.
You guys were 2 case studies for that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when I first saw you, Marty, you were like, it's normal for my arm to hurt all the time, and I can't do anything overhead or do anything like that. And it's like, well, that's not what we want to. That's fine that you're feeling that, but that's not what we should be living with, if we can help it. So
you live in, everyone at MASH, essentially in any type of coaching training world, is result driven of the client. Like immediately, what do you get in terms of right off the street or word of mouth? They come to Coach Nate, and they're coming to you for a result.
Yeah.
And I think as a hard part as a coach, or anyone in those types of roles, is like you can't control that. Like you're putting in the FMS testing, you're putting in the coaching, the care, the programming.
Yeah.
But like you can't control the work ethic or the drive or the consistency of this person. And as you get bigger, there's more and more people, and now all of a sudden they follow the whole suit. And let's say they do hit the consistency numbers, they do nail the program that you have, and the body looks good, and they're not getting the result that they want because you're in a very result driven occupation.
Right.
And again, unfair, because I've watched you dominate this multiple times, but for people who are listening, you've obviously been in this industry for a long time, and I think one of the reasons why you've sustained your clients is because you've been able to keep the person moving and to be able to stay with them mentally and with them through the non-results, because you're always going to have someone who doesn't hit the number that they maybe initially thought about getting. It might take them longer. But what are some of the things that you've noticed that you can kind of bestow upon us of what you figured out works, or how do I work with a guy mentally, or how do I keep a guy keep moving forward and he's not hitting the numbers he might want to hit?
People are so complex,
right?
And so many people have, sometimes motivators for athletes are motivators that other people are putting on them. They're not motivating the kid. The kid doesn't necessarily choose what's motivating him. He doesn't even realize it, you know. And so, all the way from professional athletes, some of the most highly like messed up people mentally are professional athletes, because they feel like it's their sport that defines them, and that they have to succeed because they're that close. But I think, when you do the assessment, for me, I don't really put timelines on things. So my first goal is to making workouts different than what they've felt in the past. We're such a intensity-based culture where, you think when a workout comes in and the strength coach is like a dictator that you're coming to see, and he's like, I'm going to get you ripped, bro. And that's like the negative stuff I don't like. So we try to make it, comfortable. Like, it's okay to leave here not feeling like you got your butt kicked. And how do you feel better walking through the door? Okay, that's mission one. Right. And then as their goals start to shift more towards what I feel like they're creating, you can start having harder conversations and saying, well, you got to pick it up a little bit in terms of, days per week or time committed, or you got to do better at preparing your body for a harder workout. I'm not going to give you something hard if you're not preparing for it. So if a kid skips his warm-ups and isn't nailing in the nutrition, isn't nailing sleep, and you can see that stuff, you start to, when you do this a long time, you start telling when people are coming in prepared. And they have that look in their eye, like I'm here for a good time, but I want the work. Yeah. And when that happens, I think that's when you can start really saying, okay, this kid's got it now. This person's got it now.
And it's surely a numbers thing. You got to know or think, because Nate, you've looked at a ton of bodies, like hundreds of thousands of bodies, hundreds of thousands of assessments, and so naturally you just get better at noticing what type of body movements there are. Yeah. And you see hundreds of thousands of athletes come in, and you start to see mentalities. Yeah. You just kind of grow your database of knowledge on an athlete's body, their work ethic, motivators. I mean, and all of that is, you get to, and you're a very observant guy. Yeah. And so, do you notice that you're doing that? Is that something that because you're just acquiring a ton of data on a yearly basis, and it's like super cool for you to be able to like, oh man, I'm getting more keen on knee stuff, elbow stuff, mind stuff, babysitter stuff. Yep. Yeah. Like that's just got to be pretty neat.
Yeah, I think it's like the hours put in, and like you start looking at people in terms of stick figures almost. Like you're like looking at them in limbs and angles and stuff, and in our industry we call it biomechanics and different things that you can use, like lever arms, your physics stuff, and figure out how people are supposed to move and what's like the perfect range of motion. But then if you get too deep into that side of the pool, you get a little too technical. People don't want to train with you. So like you got to find that happy medium. When is it good to like look at people like that? When is it good to back off and let them have some freedom and have a little fun? And I think that's just a feel thing. There's this part of training where it's science, and that's like the fun word everybody uses. Oh, it's science-based training. And then there's that feel side to coaching that I think every coaching part in this whole world, whether you're coaching people on how to make a Subway sandwich, like you got to make that person excited to flip the bread the right way. There's a feel side to it. There's everything. Everybody's a coach.
Because they might not get as excited about that intricate science-backed lift that you got from them.
Yeah.
Sometimes we want to run around some codes, catch a football, and scream at each other.
Yeah, and
get your science out of here.
Yeah.
There's that side to it, and I think it's you just play it by person, just like first and foremost, I think everybody in our gym is a people person, and from the baseball side to the gym side, and that's really what I think people, I spend a ton of time programming for people and learning stuff, but that's for me. It's not for them to like notice. They notice the stuff that they're supposed to, which is they have a home at our place. They're welcome every time they come. We're going to take care of them. Top to bottom, everybody in our gym's a positive like influencer.
They care.
They care, yeah. And that's first and foremost. That's the most important, I think, in this industry. Like you get, a lot of people are used to fitness and health being like, stiff, confrontational, and like, not for everybody, but like, from my own experience, even like hospitals, I'd hate going to the hospital, cause when you go in there, you feel like, they want your money, and like, if you get hurt or something,
sign them up for everything.
Yeah. So for me, primary care, in this country's failing. So like, the care side from fitness is even more important today than ever. People are living longer, the prescription meds that are all-time high, like all these things that we know about, that you hear about in CNN and all this stuff. I really do feel like our facility is not only like a physical health center, it's a mental health center. It's it's a place for people to come together and be like, hey man, like I want to be here. I don't want to just show up because my parents are paying for it. You know, I always say kids because we have so many baseball players, but just anybody, any adult, any athlete comes in, they want to be in our gym.
Well, from an outside perspective too, I mean, it's kind of an outside perspective, but the reason behind that, one of the reasons is the humility.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys do a great job of checking the ego, as you know, in your industry. We've had conversations about this. There's a lot of weight trainers out there that are the big, beefy, masculine, I know everything type of guys. Yeah. And you see a ton of that. Yeah. I've seen a ton of it.
Yep.
And I've known from experience that approach just does not work.
Yeah, I mean, for most people, I think it doesn't. Some people love that stuff.
You're right. I suppose if you're a bit, I guess. But I think I want to say for the most part, people appreciate that. That humility and that I don't know, you never one point have I ever felt or have I seen you ever make another athlete feel like, what are you talking about? Yeah. I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Shut up. Listen.
Let them
never
talk.
Happen. I've never seen that happen once. Yeah. And I think it's
a partnership.
It's a big credit to you, though. I mean, and that's not easy.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
Well, thinking in how do you change your language? How do you relate to the person? Because another thing that people need to comprehend of what you guys are both talking about is in any given day, Nate talks to a professional athlete who maybe wants science-based things. Right? But then he'll talk to an 8-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old, girl, male, mom, dad, in one day.
Yeah.
And what I think is so interesting about that is you have to connect, because if you're going to have that humility, that's all day. That's not you got to comprehend that's nonstop traffic.
Yeah.
Nonstop traffic.
I'm battling bipolar.
I remember asking you that. Right. I'm sitting on the table getting worked on, and they just got people badgering Nate.
Right.
Over 30 minutes.
But badgering comes from all the diversity of what I just talked about.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, and you're human.
Yeah.
Anyone's human. That's extremely difficult. Yeah. I think that's almost the hardest part, and I have a couple questions after this, but I got to know, what are some of the ways that you have found to, one, maybe get yourself in the zone, or catch yourself leaving the I'm losing my Nateness, I'm losing my genuineness here because I'm getting frustrated, and how do you trigger yourself to get into different minds? Because you do have to learn all these people.
I think it's the same way that, like, if you really look at it as a family, right? You got any cousins, you got any nieces that are younger than you. Yeah. Like, the way that you interact with them, it's still love, but it's like I'm not gonna go up to them and be like, how's work? What'd you eat for a snack?
Right.
It's you're gonna make it fun, you're gonna make it simple, and you're gonna make it special for them. You get to adults who are really serious. So you have some friends like that. I think it's just people still. I mean, it's for me, like, psychologically. I try not to distinguish between, like, how am I changing for them? It's more just like, how are we going to have a good interaction?
Nice. Yeah.
How are we going to have, like, a good moment together today?
Beautiful. Oh, shoot. Little hairball there, Davey.
Tickle?
Hey, we can edit that out, right?
A little tickle?
I talked about that before. I want some edits. I'm going to call for some edits.
I'm going to work through it. I've been working through a little upper respiratory.
You've had a hard go.
Yeah, I don't know.
Bring it back to the podcasters. Marty's been battling.
I don't know what's going on with the upper respiratory. I was sweating. We were working out today. I had the bull. He hasn't beat me in a conditioning anything ever. And for some reason, this guy was out breathing me. And I talk about breathing all the time.
Throat surgery.
I've just been phoning for the last couple months.
We had some throat surgery.
Everybody fooled, don't you, Marty?
We had some throat surgery.
Everybody's fooled.
For those of you who don't know, Marty had throat surgery recently, and he still sounds buttery soft. I want to congratulate the surgeon and the time to recover to that what they did. I mean,
Dr. Rosario, she was great.
If you lose your voice, man, you're screwed.
I know. That's
screwed.
really all I have going for me. So, what do you got, Dave?
No.
Good. Side buffer. So my next question was going to be going back to the realness of it. You mentioned you look at the home of strength and conditioning, of the mental health, the psychology stuff, the strength and conditioning, the development. You've worked out, you've trained, when you've brought over those 15, you've trained people who you started with them when they were 10.
Yeah.
And now they're still training with you, and they're in their mid-20s or so.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
And so, as a strength coach, 2007, peeling it back to kind of the start of where this was.
Yeah.
Do you envision do you get into it and think at the end of the day, I'm really just going to be training all these people for life. You don't really ask for that, do you?
No. I mean, I think it's a blessing for the people who've stayed with us as long as we have. And I mean, even like right back at you, I mean, the amount of people that you coached that are staying with us forever. I mean, I think we've all agreed that if we get that chance, I mean, that's going to be awesome. But just being able to see people grow from little things to like older people. I don't have any kids. It's really a special thing for me, just from like a perspective side. Like, holy crap, these kids are adults now, and I have a kid right now who I trained when he was in 8th grade, and he has a business in our business, and now he shows up for work, and he's had to coach him up a little bit. He's looking a little slack, and I was like, get your stuff looking nice, man, come on. And he's showing up to work, and he's like, hey, you ready to work today, buddy? It's like, it's just 360. Like, oh my God, you were like a baby when I started training you, and now you're an adult. It's just an awesome experience. I mean, I think anybody who has that opportunity, see somebody grow, and having had a small slice of influence in that, like, man, you turned out to be a cool person. This is awesome. Good job.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, I know, Dave, obviously you've watched people grow as well, just because you've been training alongside so many guys for so many years. You get to see guys come back and age and whatnot, and it obviously it's just a cool experience. I think obviously going more to the strength side of it too. I kind of want to know, because you do, for people who are listening, Nate does a lot of homework, if you will. And what would you say is the amount of work time? Is it in learning, keeping up to date? And the reason why I ask that is because I think as a coach now more than ever, one of the hardest things to do as a coach today is everything can be challenged in an instance.
Yeah.
You can bring up anything, and everyone has Google.
There's a study to be the study.
Everybody has YouTube. Everybody has the ability to go, is this guy right?
Yeah.
And I know that people battle that,
yeah.
right? And I think that's one of the hardest things about coaching today is that everybody can be an expert.
Yeah.
And so how do you kind of, one, earn the trust?
Yeah.
And then two, you've almost got to know, because you have to catch everything that's the new fad and then figure out, is there validity behind this? Yeah. Is this positive? And then you got to keep growing.
Yeah.
So how are some of the things you've done in your 10-year tenure? Oh,
I like that.
You said that correctly.
I did, didn't I?
We're hashtagging
I said it's so smooth that for a minute I go, did I say that correctly?
I think you misspoke and then realized you spoke correctly.
Yeah, you didn't even look at me like that once.
If I recall correctly. Sorry.
So can you go deeper into that on some of the things that you've done?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really passionate about continuing to learn just from an enjoyment side. I think if you force yourself, like when I first started to learn, I was like, I got to get through this book. I'm reading a chapter a night. And it's just like school, that's just how you're taught to learn. So for me, it was like, I think the best thing for me was I started learning because there was a need. Baseball players, hey, they have rotator cuff issues. Okay, I better learn how to help a rotator cuff. So it's just going through a ton of stuff. And then, trying it on myself as well as my clients once I know that I'm teaching it well, is a process, and it's man hours. It's like anything. Anything you're good at, whether it's physical or mental, it just takes a lot of time in the dojo, just sitting down, reading, trying. You eventually find stuff, but having a background in, the kinesiology major is definitely a plus. I think it's a valuable thing to go to school for if you do know you want to be a strength coach and you're actually getting something out of it and you're excited to learn it. That sets the foundation, but most of your actual skill work comes from outside of school. It's actually having a need to learn something and then saying, okay, I'm responsible for a person. I'm responsible for an athlete. I'm going to learn the best way to do it, and then just continuing to hammer at it. I mean, there's so many great things you can read, and other, books, blogs, instructionals. You can pay for websites that show you information. I think you just keep on compiling, and when it feels right that you're at the, you're cutting open to the vein that you want, you dig in it and make sure that you're applying it.
Cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
I like the way you put that.
Yeah.
I mean, and from, again, an outside observer, to answer the question for Nate, as far as, someone's got this fad or they're an expert or they got a YouTube video.
Right.
I've never seen Nate force a lift on anybody.
Yeah.
No.
There's a lot of strength coaches out there like, well, I told you to do this, or why aren't you doing this, or so on and so forth. I mean, which is, you put a lot of time into those programs.
Yeah.
But if someone's not doing or doing something on their own, you ain't barking at them.
No.
I mean, that's a let go piece. Like, you can't control it all.
I think it's the nature of most professions now, especially since everybody has access to social media and stuff, is that you want to say something that's going to like ring out. Like recently in a lot of blogs and stuff, people are like against like ice therapy, or there's a famous coach, Mike Boyle, who like 6 years ago, the guy's a genius. He coaches at, for the Boston, University of Boston, their hockey program. He's worked with professional teams. He has a bunch of years of like awesome work. And in one video, he wanted to emphasize this thing he calls an RFE squat, rear foot elevator or Bulgarian squat. And he said, if you do this, don't ever back squat. Back squat's crap. And I feel like he was saying it in more of a way of like saying, compared to this lift. But people took it so literally, and then it's their chance to say, screw that guy on social media. And get recognition.
It's almost like they want a shot at him.
Yeah. I mean, it turns people into, rather than having like an important conversation and like trying things differently, people want to make like exuberant claims and get noticed for that.
Right.
Because there are people that want to go to somebody. If you say something with certainty, people have a tendency to listen. If you look, how did Donald Trump get voted in? If you're very confident, you're going to get, love. So
it might not be it might not be the smartest person in this room.
No,
most
just hit that power stance and talk louder than everybody.
Exactly.
You're halfway there.
You got
exactly.
me. I hear it.
That's the social media culture we live in.
Yeah.
So I think the not forcing lifts, part of it's easy for me. If a kid says, I hate that lift, I don't want to do it, or for an athlete or, pro guys, some of them have been tortured with lifts that they do not like, but they're told it's essential to do it. Right. And it's like, there's so many ways to get your body strong. As long as you're excited to do it, I think that's the most important factor. Is like, psychologically, we can't do studies to validate strength training.
Right.
How do you make a controlled study to say this person's working harder than that person?
Right.
You've said that before too.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I think trying to quantify work ethic is it's not possible to ever have work ethic as a part of your thing, like you work hard. Maybe. How do you know?
The studies in the past, they've done workouts to failure. Like that's like one of the parameters, or they'll have like RPE scales, like rating of perceived exertion, and they say, how hard were you working on that? I mean, if I'm in a study, I'm gonna be like, oh, that was a 10, dog. I'm working my butt off. You're not going to be the guy like, 3.
Yeah.
That was a 3.
I had more.
Well, what I also think is interesting whenever you do the 1 through 10 ratio is, what's the difference between a 7 and 8?
Yeah.
And how do you know?
And your 8, if I'm working out with Mart, his 8 or 9 on a cardio is like my 20. I'm looking over him saying like, hey, settle down. No, I'm giving props. We get under a squat bar, or we do anything with weights.
You can put me down. You can put me
down. Let's
down
reverse
there.
that cycle there. Let's
there.
put that cycle in reverse.
Put me down there, yeah.
So everybody has the thing they love, and it's up to you to like try to teach them like to push hard. That's a mental coaching side. You can't really put a study on it. You can't put a thing on it. But for me, like, hey, do you not like that lift? I hate it. All right, yeah, well, we're not doing it. Let's find something else.
Well, and essentially too, you have to do some thinking on your own. I mean, you got the playbook for us, Nate, but if you go through, you see some of the athletes right there, you look at their books, you'll see like a heart on this lift.
Or
like, I really like this one.
You
can go back to it because you want them to be thinking on their own. You don't want them just like to take what you're feeding them and not think about it or process it and be like, well, Nate told me to do it, or coach told me to do it. I mean, obviously you have respect.
Take some ownership.
Yeah, you have some respect for what has been given to you and the work put into it. But at the end of the day, it is about you and what you're doing.
And the 1%ers that can do all the lifts and they love putting their body through that. We got kids at our gym. It's like you could tell them to put their head down and run through a wall for a lift, and they'd be like, "Okay, is the brick one or the drywall one?" They don't give a crap. So it's like if you get a kid like that, go wild. Give them some variety. And there's concepts in lifting that they have. There's acronyms you use, and like intensity, time, reps, keeping it different. The modality that they're lifting, you keep varying it. So some kids that you have that, and that's a special person. That's like the 1%ers that play in college, 1%ers that go on to pro. They can handle a lot of things. So why are we basing that standard on the 99% who don't have that genetic qualification or that mindset? So for me, it's like you find people that are special in the weight room the same way that you find people who are special at like running long distance or swimming or doing things. Like lifting is a skill, and I'm not going to make people have lifting be their primary skill if their passion's a sport.
Sure.
You know, or if their passion's like getting in shape, or they just want to feel good. You know?
That sounds good.
So I'm curious. Let's switch gears a little bit here now, Nate. We're down the line. We've got a beautiful new facility, a lot of athletes.
Yeah.
Now we're at a position of we're training in interns. We got young
employees under them.
You got employees under you. Got new young minds. Yeah. Which is a whole new facet to what you're doing.
Trains universities, trains full university teams now.
Sure.
Full high school teams.
So when you got a group of interns coming in to train under you or to learn from you or what have you, you know, you don't have to go through the whole process, but what are some of the things that you're keying in on? I got to hit this. This is the things that I want to make sure that they know, or the standards that I'm setting in my gym, so on and so forth. Like you got a group of 5 coming in. What do you make sure you're hitting with them?
I mean, I think the intern training that I've been doing for the last 6-7 years, it's changed a lot just because when I first got in there, I felt like I was pushing knowledge on them to like make them impressed. I was like, hey, I'm gonna
validate yourself.
Yeah,
through like, oh yeah, he's smart.
You're working with a dog, dude. Yeah, you know? And then
I know so much science.
Yeah. Just get nerdy and say, okay, remember all that stuff you snoozed through, or you maybe there's some really good interns. You know, everybody learns different things, but we're gonna go back and we're gonna learn why this is important. I try to teach like a full year's worth of knowledge in like 4 days, so I'd be going through a ton of content. And one of the persons that really helped me through that and refining is our other strength coach that's full-time, Jake Schmitz. Really strong trainer, just everything. He's passionate about it. He's in the right place mentally, wanting to help people.
He is.
He was an intern of mine, and we hired him. He's full-time. He's one of the family members. We got a really strong team, and he's one of the guys that's really taken a ton off my plate. And he told me, little much, just slow it down. Let's refine these things. I think that this is the most sport they need to know, because my experience, I can teach it, but I don't understand what it's like to be in their shoes. I can act like, this is what they should know, but then they're out there going, what the heck's going on? Because at any point, 20 kids walk into our gym, and they're all saying, what's this lift? What am I supposed to do? Go stretch that kid, do this thing. So Jake kind of helped refine that, and now it's kind of built more towards there's expectations of knowing, but there's not timelines on it. So the first day, we're going to get through some real light topics. I said, hey, we're going to talk through our philosophy, how we train. We're going to talk about different lifts that we're going to employ for people. What are the contraindications, the things that people shouldn't be doing? What physiology or things are you expected to know to actually really know in the gym, like knowing your energy systems, knowing how they're applied, and rest periods that are required, and all the little things that you may just not necessarily be thinking about all the time. We'll go through it really fast, and then the second day is more of like, okay, here's what you need to know to survive. This other stuff, you can ask me about it, you can talk to me about it, we can revisit it. We got 6 weeks, we got 3 months together. So I think it's more just like anything, it's been a refined process of trial and error, and the person who's really helped me a ton was an intern of mine, and now he's teaching 2 of the days, and all the kids leave saying, this is a great experience. And that's ultimately, if they learned more, if they already knew it and they just got to nod their heads and please me acting like I'm smart and just get on the floor and do their thing, as long as they leave saying, hey, can I get a reference, and I want to come back and train here, I want to keep in touch, that's for me is the big part. Dude.
I'm gonna put a little put something
out
here
going,
for
Dave?
Well,
Where are you going, Dave?
Nate, I know you take a lot of pride in your gym and you have a lot of care into it. Let's say hypothetically, we grow our numbers. The numbers are growing big time. Is Nate Dogg, is he going to be able to give away some of his power and ownership?
Dun, dun, dun.
Some of that. I mean, let's just say we get there.
Did you see the full body flinch?
Let's say we get there. All of a sudden we got
to put that on video.
We got 1,000 or 2,000, and Nate goes, I just cannot do this all. Have you thought about that possibility and being like, okay, there's a chance I'm going to have to trust somebody else with my gym?
Yeah, I trust Jake. He's taken a ton of stress off me, and ton of he's a wizard in there, and he's challenging me on how we're running stuff, and I was definitely not okay with that process when it first started. Again, a lot of my coworkers have worked with me on changing my mindset. You know, I'm very loving as a person, but when it comes to something that it's my toy, I'm very childish. I want things to run a certain way.
Mine.
Yeah, it's mine. It's mine. A lot of work goes into it, so you're very like scared to hand the keys over for that car.
Of course.
You've spent a lot of time saving up for it. So I think that for me that's a personal battle, and just even like on a personal level of like sharing, success is hard for everybody. Sharing, you want recognition, but it's really it's at the end of the day, like for me, it's as long as I get to come to work and enjoy the people I'm around. If there's more people I enjoy and they're doing the right thing, I think I'll be able to be better at giving and delegating and if they're good. That's my thing. It's they got to be on the same level of like, I care about people, I care about the craft. I've proven track record. I mean, I've gone through so many people who have done the job with me, but after a year they're like, I'm not making enough. This isn't a job that I want more. I'm like, if that's your motivation, for anybody that's listening, if you're going to be a strength coach and you're like, I want to be the Tybo guy making millions, kicking the screen.
I want to make bank, bro.
Yeah, you're not going to get there right away. So you got to go in for it, the love, and you got to stay for the love, because there's going to be cycles where you go up, you go down, and as long as the person like that is on my level, and I think that's like any friendship, it's just built through time, I'm more than willing to share. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
It's hard to say. That was hard to work through.
No, that's hard to work
through.
You worked through it too, and I think so. Dave mentioned earlier we met with the No Sweat company over there, who's doing very well, and they're relatively.
Are you
young.
getting? I'm gonna address. Are you getting paid by them?
No, I better. So
you got
when they watch this,
you got their hat on.
When they watch this, well, I just haven't had a new lid, so I wanted to look fresh. I'm gonna bring it up to Colin and John. I'm gonna talk to John,
because I think if they're not paying you right now, if Marty definitely gave me like a order your No Sweat hat / MindStrong,
you'd get
I'm buying that hat tomorrow.
Well, I think that because essentially, yes, you're a strength trainer, but you're also an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And you entered the entrepreneurship world when you were 27, and maybe before that, but you really took it on then, right? And so now all of a sudden, we've talked about the social medias earlier, and what I think is very hard now, and so you have younger people who work underneath you, right? What I think is hard now is that everything is publicized, so it's really hard. I think and I don't know, because I didn't live 30 years ago as a late 20-year-old, but I think that now what we want to do for a living, which is fun, essentially is what we're doing, right? But at the same time, like, everything is publicized, so if you don't look or have the fact of I'm balling out, it's really hard on people. And so I think, but when you listen to your story, I also think at the same time, the guy built the palace. So now all of a sudden, if you didn't go through the gauntlet, that now you're reaping the benefits. It's like, well, what the heck, kid? And not targeting a guy, I just think in general, like, society wise, like all of us think of the sense of like, you go through the gauntlet.
Me and you have talked about this stuff before, and I think that, like, me and you have both agreed, like, this is, people are hard to say, like, I don't think it's a character flaw to care about something so much that you don't want to just give it to somebody just to, if they're not going to misuse it or abuse it. I don't think it's against, like, that philosophy for me. I'm like against, like, I'm against the first place trophy for participation. Show me that you got something, and show me that you're gonna work your butt off just as hard as me. Show me that you're gonna protect what we've built. You're a part of MASH too, and the care that you've shown always since you've been here, you're protective of it. I think that's why for me, I was like, I trusted you right away. I was like, this guy is willing to work hard. He's willing to, show up and put creative energy into the process to make us all help each other and grow. And now you're doing that with your MindStrong. You're creating a product that you care about. And for me as a friend, this is awesome. When I first started this, like, I was like, podcast, what is that? And now it's cool. I'm standing here with a microphone and some helmets, and I was like, you guys actually have like gizmos for this thing. This is awesome. So I think if somebody came up to you as like an intern and said, hey, I'm gonna start talking for you, Marty. You'd be like, well, you gotta show me something. It's a process I think that we're on guard for, and we should be protective of what we care about. You know, these are our babies that you create when you're in a small business. This is what you literally do. You know, all the small business out there, whether you're on a flower shop or whether you're doing whatever, you put so much work into your craft and so much time and energy that doesn't get seen. That you have a hard time like not being protective of it, I think.
And you have to.
Yeah.
I think that in all the lessons I think that any of us have learned at MASH, and you can speak on this too, but I think the one thing it trains you to do is believe in the dark.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of dark times.
Yeah. Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And you have every reason to not do what you continuously do.
Yeah.
But you have to continuously believe in the dark. You have to believe in it. You have to believe in it. And even when you don't believe in it, you have to convince yourself that you're lying to yourself. I believe in it.
Yeah.
And you have to do that over and over and over again. And so I'll ask you one of these things, and kind of everything we've talked about. You've believed in the dark, obviously, but you've also believed in your mission. And now, you know, your individualized programs, your intent, your training style might be different, but now it's like, now there's so many people who go, this is a good training style.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I'm interested and curious is now you've trained people for years and you continuously, now you have your machine rolling. How do you, year after year, continue to, maybe I'm seeing some light?
Yeah.
And how do I stay motivated?
Yeah. Yeah. I for me, like, it's the fact that we're like where we are right now, it's not where my vision was to begin with.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So like we're still not where I want to be.
Yeah.
I don't think, you know, as a competitor, as a person that tries for things, you want to be sitting on top of the mountain, whether it's going to happen or not. So for me, like having a gym where that's, you know, it's nice that we're really big in our local area. I want to be big in the state. I want to be an influencer for the country. Right. Because it's one of those things where I think you come to work every day and you're like, you know, I'm working towards something, and you don't really, like, the dark days that happen and the things that happen, like, you really just have that bright tunnel in front of you, right? I mean, you're just saying, I don't know how close I am, but I'm gonna keep on digging. And I think as a unit, that's what's helped me get through it, is as a unit between all of our people that are involved at MASH, one of us is down, the other people pick you up. And they say, you know what, this isn't what you're supposed to be like. There's a standard I'm holding you to, and this is not what I'm used to seeing.
Amen.
And we all call each other out on it, and we help each other get through those times. And that's really where, again, the family thing is thrown around so much. And as you can tell by my awkwardness about talking about myself and like giving myself any kind of validation, it's hard for me to brag about something, but the thing I brag about most to people about the company I work for is the amount of care and love that we have in that company. I've been working rooftops since I was 14. I've been doing like waiting tables. I've always worked. There's never been a feeling in my life since being at MASH where I come to work every day, and that family thing is not just some BS we're using for a marketing scheme. It's like we literally like show up to work together today, you know, every day, and we look forward to it. You know,
well,
it's exciting.
That's one of your guys' kind of selling points of your mission statements. You hear kind of Steve talk about it too sometimes. If someone calls and asks, you know, what are you guys about? You know, what can you do for me? Yeah. And you literally just tell them, just come on in.
Come on in.
Come on in the facility.
Just walk on in.
Feel it and see it for yourself.
Yeah.
And it is definitely a tangible thing. You may not be able to see it or smell it or taste it, but you can also see it and smell it and taste it. Yeah. If that makes sense.
No, it's 100%.
Maybe sit the next couple plays out.
You know what I mean, though?
No, all like your senses. All your senses, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's you know you're in the right spot. It's like, you know, it's like Norm and Cheers, man. You're going to feel like you're Norm. Like you come in.
I think there's no better time than to hop in to the base path with Coach Nate.
This is what I'm here for.
Let's take him through the Diamond Series.
Hey, dog.
This is what I want to see. This is what I see. And you guys know, as a friend, I've been your biggest skeptic.
Yes.
I've questioned everything.
Well, you've questioned everything, but you stuck to what you just said.
Yeah.
You've also pushed, and you've also been there and held accountable.
And I got my first taste of MindStrong as a company. We had you guys in, and you know, the hardest thing you can do is challenge your friends to think differently.
Yes.
But it's also the easiest thing. You're like, because you've seen them in so many different capacities.
Yeah, and you're excited to share.
But you're like, you're so stupid. Get out of here.
Yeah. It was fun to see you guys share. I mean, so for me, I'm excited to see the personalized product because I think there's a need for this to challenge people to answer questions they're not comfortable with, and that's really where most of my things were in the past. Is like, I'm Irish, I got that in my blood, and it's like I think Freud said any Irish person is like really hard against any psychotherapy.
Impervious to psychoanalysis.
Yes. That's in a movie. What movie is
Departed.
That? Yes, there you go.
There you go.
I think that's where I picked it up from. I'm so full of crap here. Jesus. Acting like I know Freud. Jesus.
Well, so you start at, and you have an idea of it. You start at home first, or purpose.
Yep.
And so you look at, using your gym, your family life, your friendship life. What drives you? Because obviously, to get through, we just talked about believing in the dark a little bit and seeing the light at the tunnel.
Yeah.
What gets you through the mezzanine? What gets you through the early days? What gets you through, I want to make this jump? There has to be a drive and a deep, deep sense of purpose.
Strong why.
Whether that's through identity-wise, togetherness. Obviously, you're a huge proponent of family and love and those types of things, so have a high purpose there. But then also, what are you willing to struggle for?
Yeah.
So some of the things that you can kind of reflect on, but then currently right now, what's Nate's why? What gets you up going and makes you continuously move this thing forward?
So purpose, like, what is the reason I like doing what I do?
Yes.
Or like, why do I get up? I think for me it's more just happiness. Like, I feel better servicing others than like worrying about myself. So if most of my days built around like showing up to work and spending an hour with somebody, it's not like you're there with them like 4 to 5 hours a day. You get them in small bursts, but every day, and you're kind of all built on the same team mission of like, let's get you somewhere. And you have some failures, but I mean, for me, like, service, you can't take away the service. Like, somebody can't just come up to me and say you can't help people.
Yeah.
You can take your house. You can take your house away. You can take your car away if you don't miss your payments. And I have credit cards have my number on speed dial. You can do all those things, and people can take all that stuff, and that would stress me out all the time when I was a kid and like growing up. And was like, how do I accumulate? If I think in that path, I get stressed and I'm depressed. So like for me, like giving to people is my way of selfishly making myself feel comfortable, and I think the gym is that medium for me. Mother Teresa had her ways, I'm gonna do mine, and we both didn't get married till much later in life. I think she married right before. It's just one of those things. It's just the thing I care about the most, and there's that feeling. Everybody knows this, whether you're a terrible person or a good person. When you help somebody,
you feel good.
And so for me, that's kind of like the thing I do.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And then, so how do we keep that as we head down to first base, and that service attitude and helping people out? That base is your standards. Yeah. And it's really how you do things. It's the value. It's what drives your decisions.
Yeah.
So when Nate shows up to work, what are some of the things he's like, I got to make sure I do things this way?
Yeah. I think the big thing for me, like, to feel comfortable when I go places is that people recognize that I'm there and like treat me like they want me there. So the big thing that I've stuck with since I started doing anything is if they're a person that I'm responsible for, when I was doing like personal training or where you're focused on a class, is greet everybody with, you guys see it.
Absolutely,
it's one of those things.
You give him a touch. He always does it.
Yeah.
He wants to touch you.
There's that
give
book.
You a touch.
There's that book. What is it? Greet the Dog or some? I didn't read it, but it's the premise is that if you have a dog at home, it hurts your relationship with loved ones, because it comes and it charges you at the door, and you spend all your love and excitement on that dog, and then you whack past the wife and the kids and you say, hey, how's your day? Yeah. So I think for me, it's like I want to be that dog at the door every time somebody walks in, like, you showed up today, holy shit. And when they leave, I'm like, great job. Jake always makes fun of me, like, you tell everybody great work. I'm like, well, whether they worked hard or not, it's great that they showed up. Some of our kids drive 45 minutes. So me at that age, I wasn't doing 45-minute drives for a workout. So for me, it is great that they showed up and did something to help themselves.
Oh, that's cool.
So I think the standard for me is just be positive, be excited. I'm not like some, happy jump off the walls guy all the time. If you get me socially around my friends, like, you don't talk, you're mumbling too much, you just, I'm not the most social person, but when I'm in my element and I feel like I'm there for people and I get to help them, jumping off the walls, and my standard is you come in that gym, you're gonna leave better than you felt, and I'm gonna force that on you, whether you want it or not. We're gonna feel better.
Yeah. That's, I mean, beautiful. Well said. And so you see how the purpose feeds into the service. You know, the weight room's your platform.
Yeah.
That's your building. That's your palace. Like I said, that's your place where I'm going to serve you. Right. And then you take it off. But at the same time, you also got to be in a great place to be able to serve, be able to lead, be able to train. We talked a little bit about doing your research, your homework on the own. You obviously are in shape. I see you crushing workouts all the time on your own as well. So you have a tall task not only to influence and lead hundreds of people on a daily basis, but you also have a tall task of taking care of Nate. And so system-wise, what are some of the things that you do, morning routines, night routines, things you do throughout the day that you find yourself optimally
get rebalanced, get refocused, keep energized?
And I think that's something that we all battle with.
Constantly tweaking that, tinkering with it.
You're constantly tinkering with it. And the big thing for me is, like, when I was growing up, my mom was really big into meditation, and she did sound and light machines, if you ever heard of those.
I mean,
they died. I don't know why. I mean, for a 10-year-old doing it, I was like, well, it's pretty cool. I can't imagine what it'd be like as like an adult saying, let's jump in this sound and light machine.
It's fun when Didon gets the chimes going around.
You put on these Ray-Ban sunglasses and it would shoot lights in your eyes while you listen to music. And I don't know if it was like just being a child or what, but it put you in the zone, got you sleepy, and you felt good. But I kind of went away from that, because when parents make you do things, you're like, don't. You don't do it as much as you should, probably. So when I was like 25-ish, I was getting overweight. I had some like personal depressions I was getting over. And, for me, it was like, again, it was going back to the, like, how can I be responsible for me every day? What are the things that I do that I can be in charge of? I'm working really hard. I know I'm not going to sleep a ton. I know that sleep's important, so sleep, everybody. But there's times where
get that in there.
Yeah, if you gotta get stuff done, sometimes you gotta sacrifice on the sleep cycle. So I was like, what else can I do? So I started getting into like making sure that quality sleep was happening. So that's more about bringing things down before I go for 4 hours, before I go to 5 hours, before I get 6 hours. It's random. But getting myself in a place where I feel like I'm actually like ready to give myself some recovery. And I think that's like, there's a multitude of ways to doing it. I mean, one is exercising regularly. We know the benefits hormetically and physiologically from exercise as an antidepressant and getting your body to secrete hormones for recovery. Eating smarter. I wouldn't say I eat better than most people. I love ice cream. If you guys ever get a sponsorship for Haagen-Dazs, I'm joining MindStrong. I love that ice cream so much. So I know that when I should eat it and what's meal timing. So knowing when are good things to eat and when can you cheat a little bit and when can you not. I think it's just as bad to be depressed about what you're eating as it is to, eat bad things. So I get rid of the depression and say, okay, I'm going to have something I like every once in a while. And I'm going to make sure that everything I eat throughout the day is like making nutritional sense. And then if I break the rules for 20% of the day, that's fine. Because I'm still working out. I'd say like for me, the meditation part is probably the hardest thing I've had to ingrain. And that's I think for you guys, like I'm interested to learn from you guys as we go forward, because I know that you guys have been really talking to experts in terms of meditation and different breathing strategies. And there's a lot out there, and it is good to have tools for different people. But for me, the meditation, I guess, is more just a practice of like quiet appreciation, where I'm focusing on getting rid of anything before I go to bed that's negative in my head. I work too hard.
Love that.
I screw this person. They didn't do this for me, or
you don't want to go sleep with that.
Those evening thoughts when you're laying in bed for whatever reason, man. You'll sit there and be like, oh, you think you're the worst person in the world sometimes.
I think that hating things and getting mad before stuff is one of the biggest cancer creators. I mean, there's no way to prove it. I just know that stress is a cortisol, and so for me, like just every night before I go to bed, appreciation, sleep without having any bad food in my body, wake up, and when I hit that snooze 6 times, the first thing I do is I go back to what I wrote down the night before and try to start my day off with like what I wrote. Because in the morning you're like, what do I appreciate? not much except coffee and
Get me up, get me rolling. That is awesome. I love that. I love that little nighttime.
What I kind of take away from that is your conscious relationship to things.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're a very conscious individual about, you have a conscious relationship with my sleep cycles. I'm very conscious about my relationship with food and when I'm eating it.
Yeah.
When can I do it? How can I balance it? Am I going to feel good at this point?
Yeah.
And I think everybody's different.
Yeah.
Everybody's different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But Nate, that's what makes it Nate's system. He knows that what works for him. He's constantly tweaking that,
Right.
Those inputs to get the best output.
Right.
Well, I'm interested to learn from more what you guys are gonna, because like for me, I think that's the one thing I don't think we've ever talked about is what we're finding, like medicinally that you guys are doing for like your mind.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best strategies that you guys have found? What's the best thing that you guys do and that you feel personally? Because like I think that your audience too, like these guys have done a great job in my gym of promoting. Not necessarily one way to do things, but like, hey, let's try this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a non-threatening place
Right.
to be, rather than saying, hey, you have to do it this way, or you have to try this. So I'm excited in our journey going forward too. And now that
100%.
we're talking about this stuff, and you guys are a part of our team too. And,
Right.
I think it's just a matter of presenting the material in a non-invasive way.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look at it. Again, it's got to be self-discovery and
Yeah.
self-practice, or else it won't stick.
And you guys are in the discovery phase still.
Right.
I mean, that's the
And-
exciting stuff. Right?
Oh yeah, that's what keeps you rolling.
Yeah.
And so, but
You
we're
know.
we're not. I mean, we're kind of smart, but we're not that smart. So if you just
you guys can't give all the compliments on the podcast and not getting back. You guys are doing a great job with this stuff, and I think furthering the mission towards mental health, which I know that all of us have had personal relationships with people.
you mean ourselves?
Yeah, ourselves, people, yeah.
Everyone, all the above.
Yeah, it's a good program to have. Different ways of doing things. I know that Wim Hof was on your plate. Is that the first one?
I would say Wim Hof is who drove me down the rabbit hole of breath work.
Yeah,
And it was because it was the first time ever that I'd done meditation or breath work and actually felt change.
it's a bad man right there.
Yeah, oh yeah. And it was cool. I think obviously we work in the athletic world, but I think a lot of our motivations or desires of figuring out a mental game plan for people is how do you find progressive work, right?
Beautifully said.
Yeah, and you get in the weight room or you get in the field, like athletes and people want to feel growth. Like they want to see you want to train in the gym to continue to grow it.
Yeah.
Because growth brings so many amazing things, right? And so it's the same thing in the mental game is how do we find, how do I know my brain is getting better?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how do I know?
How do you evaluate that?
Yeah, and I want to, and I think that's one of the things that Dave and I have really tried to figure out. Nowhere near where we want to be, but nowhere near any of us where we want to be.
No, I think it's like you guys.
It's a constant pursuit.
Yeah.
In your own presentation is like the purpose is to help people.
Yes, 100%. And then that's what's so cool about this because there's so many synergies to what we're all trying to do, and that's what makes you keep going. That's I think there's something that I heard a couple years ago that I try to remind myself all the time is there's a lot of truth in cliches.
Yeah.
And don't fight. I don't remember where I heard that, but it hit me. And I love the fact that like cliche is true, so why are we avoiding it?
Yeah.
And then simplicity is simple, so why are we avoiding it? Like it's if you break it down to its simplest form, work out, eat well, give.
Yeah.
You're gonna be all right.
You're gonna have a happy life.
You're gonna be all right.
It's a great place to start.
And how hard is that? It's extremely hard. And so we try to make complex things out of simple things that we've known for thousands of years.
Yeah.
So now. Let's see if this is a simple or complex answer. But let's take Big Nate Dogg, and I'm excited to hear this piece because this guy, and obviously we'll show some of it through the media-wise, and people see videos and stuff of when we're in those gyms. That's where the master, the wizard Nate is working. But obviously things are going well, and hopefully they continue to go well. For all of us, because we're all kind of in this together. So hopefully they go well for all of us. But vision-wise, you have done something tremendous, and you've done it at a young age, which is awesome, and you have years to go. So where do you stand mentally when you're not necessarily putting down the I had a tough day type stuff? What is I go to sleep and I'm excited because this is what I see in the future. not for MASH. Well, you are MASH,
Yeah.
but for you, where do you see yourself building, and where do you think the vision of everything we just talked about, where are you taking it?
I think that's a good question. How much time of silent airspace can we have before people turn this thing off? Well, so I guess for me, like the long-term like excitement and growth for me is like how many people can I influence in a positive way. And when I say positive way, where I actually like am not talking to them through an Instagram post or a website, how many people can I get my hands on and help, and or people that are on the same team get their hands on and help. Because I mean, for me, like you have to believe in what you're doing. By no means with anything I've said, if you're like the crazy meathead guy who's strength training, you're helping people too. I mean, it's just different philosophy. It's like we don't have to agree on the same stuff to be friends. It's for me, it's just like I have to believe in what I do. So for me, I feel like if I can get my hands on more people, maybe change their mind on some things and help them, if it gets to a bigger number and a bigger number and a bigger number, and I actually feel like it's authentic, I'll shut it down and say, okay, I can't continue helping more. We're at capacity. And then that comes back to the question of who else can we get on the team to run a second location. And if we have 2, 3, 4 places that are doing it the way that I think is right, it doesn't have to be that outcome, but that's like the goal. That's the vision. That's the hope, is that we're influencing a larger group of people. We're influencing our tribe gets bigger. Our people get more bought in, and we get to make people ultimately love fitness and love being around other people who love fitness. And it doesn't have to be like the high intensity videos that you see at 3 a.m. with some guy screaming at you. You're like, why are you so mad at me? Like, why can't we just like have a good day together and have a workout? So I mean, that's my thing, is I guess just more people, more influence, more learning, more fun.
And I think that's the second time now here in a week now where we've got a very similar purpose and vision, which is always, I think, super interesting. Yeah. Interesting that, that interesting. It is, because you got Nate's purpose is to serve. And then he does what he does for his vision is to touch as many people as he can. Right. And so that kind of just, it's cool to see it round out. Yeah. And you see the correlation there between why you do what you do. Yeah. So you can ultimately reach the vision that you have for yourself. Yeah. And I think that continuity and that balance and that flow piece, it just makes it feel a lot better. Yeah. It makes me feel like I'm not wasting my time at work. It's a worthwhile endeavor. Yeah. And I think more people could use that. I mean, really, I'm not knocking people who go for money, but the people I've seen that like constantly stress themselves out at a job they hate. And they look forward to the weekends, and then they have their fun on the weekends. And then every time I see them, they're like, man, I hate my job, but I need to pay for this. It's like, I just wish more people would do something. I mean, really, like we got a large amount of people in the world, right? True. So I'm not expecting the whole world to change. I'm not so naive, but influencing my community, influencing people that I know, like it's for me, I feel blessed every day that I get to do what I do, because, I'm not, my value structure is not built around like a boat and a house and stuff. I mean, it would be cool to have. I mean, I'm not going to say don't give me a boat. If
I'm going to be on that boat, you get one.
If anybody gets a boat from this company, again, I'm back on that.
Hope you wear that shirt if we get out there too on that boat, Marty. It's a nice shirt.
So starting to get these things on video. I wanted to just, if anyone's got any boats out there, I'm ready to get on the damn boat.
No, I mean, I'm
pretty
just
simple.
I'm just
I moved here from McGuigan to buy a boat. The damn guy. Guys got me on a floaty in the pool out back. Thank God it's below ground.
I'm just as self-absorbed and narcissistic as everybody, but I just think that it's just, I'm getting preachy. We've had a couple glasses of wine, but it's cool to see people. I mean, this is where it is right now. MASH and MindStrong right now. It's like, I mean, I don't even know, who's buying dinner tomorrow. We're all going to be fighting over that. It's like,
oh gosh. Yeah. No,
a lot of fun.
Well, and to go to that, speaking about the people, we got Christina Seamers coming here tonight. She's gonna she's got a lovely dinner for us.
We get to hang out after this.
Yeah, we're hanging out. She was on the podcast earlier. She does a little food delivery system. Crate the Table. There's a little plug for her. But at the same time, that's the beauty of all of this, is just human connection. We've got an awesome person coming over here later. We've got some unbelievable friends with us that I'm actually going to give a thanks to the room. I think that the greatest form of leadership is giving away your time, because this is invaluable. You don't get your time back. You can give away money, but you can't get time back. So as not only a coworker, one of my best friends, I'm going to give you a big hug after this because I love you.
Yeah.
But you gave Dave and I well over, I never know how long, so well over an hour of your time, which for the benefit of not only MindStrong, but for the people who will listen to this, I think is unbelievable. And then for the people who just listen to us, who are also some of our best friends, just sat here and indulged in a time with us as well. So I think, and then like I said, we're going to have a dinner after this. So I think the more that we get to do this, I think it's just special. It's special. It makes you excited. It makes you want to do more of it.
Yeah.
And it makes you want to push it to give to more people. And so from my end, dude, you trained me. I don't even know our roller coaster ride of friends train, work together, whatever it is. You have been, as a professional, you've been extremely consistent for pretty much the decade that I've known you. And so I admire that from a younger guy. I'm younger than you, and I got to you were kind of my first role models and first admirer of what it looks like to work and coach in the world of humans.
Yeah.
So from my end, I mean, I'm super fortunate and super grateful to have had you as an influencer. So I know the people you've influenced, but from me personally, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, who knew 7 years ago we'd be chopping up a podcast? So I love you. Thank you for doing it.
No, this is, I'm going to just say to the world, this is, if you're a guest waiting up here, this is a really fun experience. And I'm normally very mumbly. They got earphones. I'm hearing my own voice in my ears. And I'm the first time in my life I've broken out of the mumble.
You do sound good.
This
sound
is
great.
cool.
You look good.
This is
got
cool.
It all.
This is cool. No,
Some guys have all the luck,
I appreciate you guys having me on here, and I think that again, from being a skeptical person at the start, I think you guys are on your wavelength now. When I was first starting, it was I feel like as a friend I had to be challenging. I'm not going to be just that's it, man, do that.
Yeah.
So I for me being here today for mine own is like my own personal just like friendship stamp on like that you guys are on the right path too. I mean this is cool. Proud of you guys, and I think you guys got a great thing going. And I'm excited to see more guests come through here and see you guys have chances to talk and learn from more people and spread the love.
Thanks, Natty.
Well, yeah. I mean, and obviously from old Davo's end, I mean, it's funny. We took a while to get us kind of warmed up and have a nice professional relationship.
Yes.
I don't know. It was probably a little bit of me just being kind of a dingus.
Mm-hmm.
There they go. There's the guy.
There's the peanut gallery.
It took me. Everybody's coming around. But,
I think when two beautiful people go together, it's like who's gonna break?
Who's blinking first?
Yeah, who's blinking first? It was one of those things where I'm like,
you got me, Nate.
I saw him. I go, I love that body, and you looked at me and said, I'm protective of this body.
Who's gonna be greasier?
And I just gave my body to you.
Who's gonna be greasier?
I tell you, Nate throws him a set of sweaty. I'm okay. A little bit there. I got so.
You remember the first thing that you?
Do
you remember one of the first things you told me when I was training you?
No.
I give the love. And
I was always like,
Nate, don't hug me. I'm sweaty. And I go, dude, I'm sweaty. We just hugged it out, and we were just both like, same sweat, dude.
And there are some guys that'll come up to you like, they'll be like, "It's okay, man, it's okay," and you'll go up and you're like, give him one of these. You're like, give him one of these, and then I'll kind of look back and I'll see him kind of be like this. I look for it, and I see it. Nate, never.
Yeah. Dude, I took that sweat, and I'm pretty sure I was like, we could bottle this and sell this. This is some good sweat right here, boys. This is hard earned.
You like that, don't you, Marty?
Greasy. I won't play basketball with you.
Hey, you know what? No sweat. Sweat's good, man. My mom told me that it's not a sweating problem unless you have a problem with sweating. And Davey, me and you don't have a problem with sweating, baby.
It makes me feel good, Nate.
We're just wet individuals that like to hug people who are wet too.
wet. So,
You know,
all
this
right.
is
All right, let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up before it gets a little bit down the rabbit hole here. So, again, yeah.
Hey, one last thing. I wanted to come on here and coin one phrase for you guys.
What you got, boy?
So you can't say like MindStrong Mafia, right? You can't say like, you know, your loyal followers. What about MindStrong Membranes? To all the MindStrong membranes out there.
Little NPMs.
Yeah. I'm not saying go with it. I'd say there's some kind of vote. Or at least if like 4 years from now somebody says something similar, you guys give me
I'm
the
having a
original
vision right now because a membrane is something that encapsulates a cell or whatever. It's that small little thing. So we're all a part of the membrane.
Yeah,
No
the
one
brain.
sticks out more than the other one. Everyone's a part of that membrane.
Yeah.
Like the trees.
Yeah.
I actually do. I like it.
I like that. I'm
I
not
do
I'm
like
this
it. I like it.
I'm a BSer, but this was serious. When I came over here, I'm like,
MindStrong.
what's the one thing I can give to these guys?
I like the membranes. I
Yeah.
do like that.
Yeah, come on.
Neato.
If I got one thing people take from this,
We're gonna
can you
chew on
please
it.
have that?
We're
We've
gonna
had a
chew
lot
on
of
that. We're gonna
slips.
chew on that membrane a little bit.
Okay. That's all I need. All right.
All right. Well, yeah. Well, Nate, thanks a lot. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Deep appreciation for you, not only for being here, but
Yeah.
just everything you do, man.
Yeah. All
love.
Your whole bit, what you're
all
all
love.
about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
It's all love, guys.
yeah. Hope it was enjoyable. It certainly was enjoyable for us. I had a ball.
Let's go have some dinner, eh, boys?
Having a
Some
ball.
dinner, baby.
All right.
Cheers, fellas.
Cheers.
Take care.